Hello, I'm Washtenaw County Sheriff Jerry Clayton, and welcome to the Community Engagement episode of Beyond the Badge. Here in the Sheriff's Office, community engagement is more than just a few programs or staff marching in parades or us hosting a picnic in the community. Although all those things are important, community engagement for us is really part of our operational philosophy. Matter of fact, it's actually a foundational element in the culture of the Sheriff's Office. It's about how we partner and work with the community to help identify sustainable solutions to community problems that at the end of the day make the quality of life for the folks in Washtenaw County much better. And we do it well, largely because of the efforts of this man, the architect of community engagement in the Sheriff's Office, Derek Jackson.
And Sheriff, over the last 10 years, we've been really working hard to become the alternatives to just traditional policing, to really build a relationship with the community, to be a partner in the community. Here at the Washtenaw County Sheriff's Office, what we've learned is that community engagement is a two-way street. It's about understanding when it's our time to just sit back and listen and learn from the community, but it's also about knowing when to step forward and help to educate and share with the community what's going on behind the badge here at the Washtenaw County Sheriff's Office. It's for us sometimes to sit down one-on-one with a kid over lunch or over the dinner table and talk about the relationship. But sometimes it's about those 600 people in a room at our town hall sessions, really learning from one another, sharing experiences. Sometimes those experiences are really difficult, and sometimes they're really fun. Some things we do are led by deputies on the road or corrections officers setting up a holiday party down in the jail. And some are led by those formerly incarcerated individuals who now work with us to keep communities safe. Some are retirees who come back to help us in our Citizens Academy, and others are volunteers who go out and work with families who just lost a loved one in a tragic situation. It really is this systematic approach to building community and getting to know one another that makes us stronger and safer as a community. We're not just officers with a badge enforcing the law, we are neighbors working together to make Washtenaw County better. We do this because we care about the community where we work and, quite honestly, where most of us live ourselves. And we're very gratified that you've let us in. What's evolved over time is a relationship between the people of Washtenaw County and the Washtenaw County Sheriff's Office that's really genuine. And that's working. Our road patrol officers are out every single day engaging with folks in the neighborhoods, on the streets, and even in our more rural areas. They're not just crime fighters working to arrest the bad guy. They are problem solvers working to create a safer community. The Corrections Division embodies community engagement in a number of different ways, but one specific way is how they're always working to help individuals leave the jail better than the way that they came in. And one great example of that is through the personal story of one of our officers, Laura 2, who's been on both sides.
My name is Officer 2. I've been with the Washtenaw County Sheriff's Office for 3 years, worked in corrections as a booking officer for 2 years and as a corrections officer for 1 year. So I grew up in Ypsi, and probably like a lot of kids in my neighborhood, had a fear and dislike of police, and I didn't have a lot of context for knowing what a police officer was other than my own friends and family, people that I knew, and a lot of them were on the other side of the law. So I started getting into trouble as well and got arrested a few times, and I got sentenced to the county work program, which is basically like community service, and it's supervised by an officer. And through that experience, that's when I met one good cop that kind of changed my whole perspective on what law enforcement is. And it was really cool, because I thought when going into the program, I thought it was going to be basically like the chain gang you see in movies, which is, you know, the cop with the sunglasses and the shotgun with the inmates in a row, you know, digging ditches, and he's just out there intimidating everyone and waiting for him to make a mistake. But it wasn't like that at all. When I went, the officer was actually really good person, just had a lot of empathy for us, and there's no judgment there, and he didn't have any hidden agendas or anything. When we got there, we were piling into the van, and he said, let's go out and do good work for the community. So we did end up digging ditches, but he was there working alongside of us and telling stories, and you could just tell, you know, he had really good work ethic, and that was kind of contagious. You just want to be a better person being around him, just want to do better and do your best work. We can't, in good conscience now, say that we hate the police because we've met one good one. And he overheard us talking and was laughing and said, no, there's a lot of good people who work in this agency, you know. And I kind of want to find that out for myself, and he's the one that actually suggested that I get connected with the street outreach program, which is a team of people at the sheriff's office hires not in spite of their criminal record, but because they have a criminal record, so they can better relate to communities, especially at-risk communities, and people like me that might have had a fear and distrust of law enforcement. So as I was riding along with these officers, I realized what I was looking at as law enforcement more as vigilantes that were out to get you and get you hung up on things. But it was more like law enforcement is a wall that's there to protect and keep the peace for people. And if you're working at counter purposes to that, you're eventually going to find the wall and run into it. And that's what I was doing. I was running headlong into the wall and then blaming it for my problems. So working as a corrections officer, coming from a background that I did, it just helps me understand more where people are coming from. And when they come in all uncooperative and yelling at me now because I'm in the uniform, I understand, and I'm like, yep, I used to feel exactly how you feel now. So, and they might not understand at the time, they come in, but once they calm down, a lot of times people come up and thank me, for being there and say they're sorry for, causing a ruckus. But yeah, it's good to know both sides of the story. I just have a lot of gratitude for the sheriff's office and also for that one good cop that I met, because without that I don't think I would have gotten a job in law enforcement. It's like I said, it's tough getting in as it is, but they gave me that opportunity to work and see the other side, and I hope that I can just pay it forward and lead by example like the good cop did, just find out all the opportunities I can to do that.
Yeah, so the outreach worker program started because we wanted a way to really reach into the community in ways that traditional law enforcement just can't. We were trying to create public safety, and how do you create public safety if you can't engage with a certain part of the community that you're trying to stop from committing crimes in the first place? So this idea or notion of creating a liaison, creating an expert on the community to reach into the neighborhoods and actually kind of build that bridge between law enforcement and the community. That's really where the outreach worker program come from. The other big piece was that it was about lowering recidivism. We knew that so many people were leaving jail, getting arrested, and coming back to jail. So at its core, the outreach program is a reentry program. It allows folks coming from the system to gain employment, to get re-engaged civically. We take a lot of things for granted when we haven't committed a crime or haven't lived in active addiction, right? When you are in jail, you lose connection to civic society. You can't vote. You can't get an apartment, you can't get a job. So all those things that civically make you a citizen, you lose connection with. A part of what the outreach worker program was designed for was to allow people to re-engage civically so that you can get a job and get employment, so you can make money and get a house, so you can actually start to vote again. So that at its core was for those two reasons, to be a bridge, but also to build back up folks so they don't go back into the system again. So we do lots of things like that, but we run this program where outreach workers are facilitating groups with moms who have sons and daughters who are in the criminal justice system, and it really has become a trauma group. It's helping these moms deal with all the trauma that they've had in their own personal lives that unfortunately has been passed on to their young ones, and now their young ones find themselves in the system. So an outreach worker can be lots of things, but at its core, again, it's really about helping that outreach worker meet their own basic needs and not wind up back in the system. So I think what the community starts to gain from an outreach worker program is one specific thing I can think of is that the community is closer. So when a deputy can actually go to the 4th of July parade and shake hands with someone who used to look at the badge with disdain, to me that makes the entire community safer. It makes that officer safer because now they have a relationship with certain individuals who would have never talked to them in the past. But it also makes the community safer. Now that individual who would never shake that hand might be willing to reach out, might think differently about something they've seen in their own neighborhood. Now instead of this no snitching mentality, I know Derek or I know that officer, let me call that deputy or let me call 911. So I think it makes everybody safer. The other piece is that, again, these are individuals who come through the outreach worker program who they're from our community, they're from our neighborhoods, they work in our neighborhoods, they're our brothers and our sisters and our uncles and dads and aunts, and so they're going to be back in the community. 83% of the people who are in our jail are from Washtenaw County. and they're only here for an average of 13 days. So again, they're in and out. They're people that you're going to see tomorrow. So if we don't provide a mechanism for folks to improve themselves and become active members of society, they're going to survive. And sometimes how they survive is committing crimes, robbing and stealing and using. So I think one of the biggest benefits is folks are getting better through the program.
So as you can see, community engagement is in every facet of the Sheriff's Office. It really is part of what we do from day to day. The people in Washtenaw County know us. We are a familiar face. You know, we know the kids, the families know us. We're familiar with the residents, both old and new. We have celebrated together, we have grieved together. We have stood shoulder to shoulder, working on some of the most daunting challenges in Washtenaw County. For the 195 years, the Sheriff's Office has been a partner with the community. I can honestly say that community engagement is the heart of the Washtenaw County Sheriff's Office. We're glad to know you. I love this job.